So last time on the podcast, I talked about something that hit a nerve for some people, and we broke down the slow decline of the Montgomery Mall and the empty storefronts, the anchor stores pulling out, and the energy that felt a little flat. So when you walk in the Montgomery Mall on a Saturday afternoon, it felt like a random Tuesday, right? The stats showed that the occupancy drifted into the low 40% range in recent years. And that particular episode on the mall stirred up a lot of nostalgia, frustration, and a bit of sadness. But it also stirred up one big question that I want to talk about, and are malls dead? And today, I want to talk about another mall 15 minutes down the road and talk about how that particular mall is not going out quietly, and that's the Plymouth Meeting Mall. And let me be clear, this is not just like a mall episode. I just want you guys to look at it kind of at a higher level here. This is capital flow. This is a community of evolution episode, and this is real estate wealth episode. We can learn a lot from this, right? Because one asset is fading and the other is actually repositioning. And if you own any property near the Plymouth Meeting Mall or anywhere near Plymouth Meeting, or even if you know where Plymouth Meeting is, this matters more than you think. It actually goes back into history, right? So if you rewind and you want to take a second here, the Plymouth Meeting Mall opened up in 1966, roughly 950,000 square feet of enclosed retail space, and one of the earlier fully enclosed malls in our region. And back then, malls were not just shopping centers. There were town squares. They were suburban versions of downtown, climate controlled, safe, central, a place where families gathered. And the Plymouth Meeting survived a massive fire in 1970 that damaged around 30 stores. It transitioned through anchor tenants from Lit Brothers to Hess to Boscov's and Macy's, eventually leaving in 2017, leaving a massive empty box. But on paper, it sounds like death. But in context, that matters because across America, right, and America as a whole, enclosed malls have been under pressure for over a decade. And with e-commerce going from a 10% of total retail sales in the early 2000s to well over 15%, there has been a lot of enclosed malls dealing with anchor stores leaving and tenant traffic losing, right? So the Montgomery Mall opened in 77 and felt that same pressure with these anchor stores leaving. And when you walk and you go around the mall, you can feel the energy, right, in the mall, the dead energy in the mall. And there is a key difference because the Plymouth Meeting Mall did not pretend everything was fine. Back in the mid 2010s, right, Plymouth Meeting even then generated sales per square foot north of $300, which in context, that's actually a stronger tier of malls regionally when you look at it from like a national level. And instead of waiting for decline, it actually pivoted. So Whole Foods became a grocery anchor that drives weekly traffic. Legoland, right? Legoland in 2017 actually brings 100,000 visitors a year. And Dave and Buster's, right? It stopped just being retail. It became entertainment plus grocery plus destination, right? So that shift is pretty strategic. We want to fast forward, right, toward what the trajectory is now. And in the early of this year of 2026, Plymouth Meeting Mall was sold to Lubert Adler, a Philadelphia-based investment firm with a strong track record in retail repositioning. And they publicly discussed a version of a Plymouth Meeting Town Center. Yes, a Plymouth Meeting Town Center, kind of like King of Prussia. This is not cosmetic, guys. This is entirely structural. So plans include demolishing portions of the enclosed area and integrating outdoor elements. So that means residential units as well. And that means proposed 500,000 square foot athletic complex, right, with indoor and outdoor facilities. And the construction is projected to begin around 2027 with phases opening around 2028. So in simple terms, mixed use wins. When you combine residential retail grocery, entertainment, and you create built-in demand, when people live there, they walk there, and when families train there and they return weekly, that provides consistency, right? This is not a once in a month shopping trip like the Montgomery Mall. This becomes a daily life thing. Here's the deeper principle, in my opinion. Density, right, plus lifestyle equals value stability. So what that means is buyers today are not just buying a house, right? They're buying access. They want walkability. They want convenience. They want food, fitness, and community within minutes. And when you transform something like a mall into a town center, you create a node, right? And that node attracts capital. Capital is what? Wealth, money, all of those things attached to it. So I want to bring this home, right? As a local realtor working throughout Montgomery County, I've seen this pattern before, right? Maybe at a smaller level, but I've seen this pattern before. When a large scale mixed use redevelopment happens, buyer interest in the surrounding neighborhoods, right, increase. So days on markets can shrink because of perception, right? Rental demand strengthens because we have younger professionals and people who want to downsize who value amenities. Studies in suburban markets where malls were converted to mixed-use town centers have shown long-term value and premiums into 10 to 20% range compared to similar homes without the nearby lifestyle. So look at the King of Prussia Town Center, right? The redevelopment of that area, right? The residential homes that are near the town center. It is creating a lifestyle layer that elevated the entire submarket. And the Plymouth Meeting already has location on its side with access to 476, close to Bluebell, Conshohocken, East Norton, Whitemarsh, Plymouth Whitemarsh, right? So add a town center in there and you strengthen and you build that brand, that corridor. And contrast the Montgomery Mall as of today, there is no confirmed capital infusion, right? There's no discussions of renovation, and that stagnation suppresses appreciation. And the real estate game is a skill-based game now, and you have to see where capital is ultimately flowing. There is some emotional layer to this, and I want to make sure that I'm clear of that. And I want to speak something deeper. A lot of us, including me, have memories at the Montgomery Mall, whether it's our first job, going to the arcade, first dates, back to school shopping, hanging out at the food court, right? We all have those memories. And I get it. I grew up in these spaces too. But the truth is, real estate, unfortunately, does not reward nostalgia. It rewards adaptation. And communities that evolve attract investment. And communities that resist change slowly fade. And Plymouth Meeting is ultimately choosing evolution, right? And that matters. So here's the practical takeaway, guys. If you own anything within distance of Plymouth Meeting, right, you may be positioned in front of a multi-year appreciation tailwind if this redevelopment executes well. And this is for any kind of mall, for that example, right? And if you're a buyer, there may be a window before full construction and full perceptions shift where pricing has not fully adjusted. If you are an investor, proximity to mixed-use town centers, they often support stronger rental resilience and higher quality tenants. So does this mean that prices double overnight? I'm sure you know it's no, right? That's not it. But real estate moves slower than headlines. But perception drives demand, and demand drives value. So here is my question for you guys. If you live near the mall, if you heard of it, if you know where it is, right? Are you excited about this transformation? And if you live near the Montgomery Mall, how do you think, or what do you think should happen there? Should there be residential logistics, a full teardown, a reinvention? This is not just about retail. This is about the future of the Montgomery County, right? This is about where capital flows, right? And if you care about long-term positioning, whether you are a homeowner or someone who loves this community, this conversation is ultimately worth paying attention to.
John Lee Real Estate, find you the best rates. All throughout Philly like Schuylkill Expressway. Talking to people who out of